too much success with all their insightful views. Do you grow yourself or buy from the top shelf? Are you here to take the reins and gain back your health? Whatever it is, you know the biz. Leave a light, crack a pipe, and let's get on with it. If you want to acquire the knowledge, you don't have to go to college. You can just come hang with Aaron and Dave.
Hey, and welcome to the Elevated News Podcast with Two Dope Dudes. We are your source. Look at that. I did a little pointy thing for Midwest cannabis news, culture, and more. I'm Aaron.
I'm Dave.
And we're the Two Dope Dudes. What's going on, dude? How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Dude, I'm doing great. It's a beautiful Monday morning.
Yeah. It's one of the nicest days of the year.
For sure. For sure.
So nice right now.
Yeah. Happy summer solstice to everybody this week. Summer's here. Summer's begun. And, let's make it a great one, right?
Nice. Yeah, I'm into it.
Yeah.
Is it actually summer solstice this week?
It was yesterday. For us, it was basically, last night.
Oh, okay.
And yesterday. Yesterday was the longest day of the year.
Nice.
Yeah. How was Clash?
Awesome. Yeah.
Get to see all the friends.
Yes.
Nice.
It is. Yep. Sweet community. Awesome community. The ice cream girl was there.
Nice.
And that's, super win for me. And the ice cream girl, for those who don't know, she makes ice cream sandwiches and sells them out of like a little push cart. But she just posts up at the disc golf tournaments, and they are freaking bomb.
And then you take them all home and freeze dry them?
Hell no, I take them all home and eat them, man. I thought about freeze drying them, but they're a little more fancy than throwing through a freeze dryer.
I gotcha. And it's all homemade, right? You were saying?
Yeah, I got non-fancy. It's actually little ice cream sandwiches there.
Yeah.
Non-fancy.
Yeah, you're showing those off last week.
Yeah, Thursday.
Right? Yeah, those are good looking.
They're super fire, actually. But I'm an ice cream fan.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I wish I could still be an ice cream fan.
Yeah.
Now I'm just I'm an admirer from afar.
I'm sorry to hear it.
Yeah, low doses, baby. Low doses.
Hey, she does have the ice cream girl. She's got a Dole Whip one that she makes. It's like strawberry Dole Whip in between two chocolate cookies. Bruh.
That sounds pretty good.
Mother of God. Yeah. But that's it.
But yeah, Clash 10, baby. Clash 10, right?
Very cool for them.
Oh, did you get my disc from Stilson? Nice.
Yes, it's right there.
Is it very orange?
I can see it. It's orangey. Yep.
That's all. If anybody's gonna get me a disc, get me an orange disc. I'm an orange fan.
Nice.
So that's super cool.
I didn't know that I was like as much a yellow fan as I am. I mean, in discs, I always knew it because I could see them better. But then I saw a really fancy old car that was yellow, and I was like, man, I really like that. And Kelsey was like, that thing is kind of ugly. I'm like, wait, hey, it looks nice. She's like, it's a terrible color.
Yellow's just light orange.
Appealing. No, sure.
It's just a very light orange.
I like that bright, vibrant stuff.
Yeah, no, I do. I do too. I like that. I like the 70s, like orange and brown and gold highlights and stuff like that. That always gets me,
Yeah, it's cool.
Super
cool. How's the garden?
Garden's doing great. Everything's just except for our stone fruits this year, which is like the cherries and peaches. The frost killed some of that, and then all this rain. But man, the garden's going. We've been picking blueberries. I've been giving out pounds of blueberries already, just because,
we got some.
Yeah, and it's not even really started. It's just barely started going, but everything's just getting ready to bloom. Hopefully we'll have some tomatoes here coming soon, but the raspberries and the blueberries and the grapes are all just firing off. It's been lovely.
Nice.
It's been lovely to get to and share, and hoping to make some cool stuff at the end of the year. That's always fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hoping to have like a harvest party and do something.
That would be cool.
Have a harvest party, invite a bunch of people over, do some barbecue. It'll be fun, like end of the year kind of thing.
Yep, a little food and fruit. That's my jam.
Food and fruit, baby. And some good smoke. Some good smoke. I mean, smoking that barbecue, smoking that,
twist my arm, bro.
Right?
Yeah.
But hey, we got some cool stories to get into today. Parabola Center released this new report about Illinois cannabis that we can talk about a little bit. And I wanted to talk about the Supreme Court upholding the marijuana users' gun rights. It's something we've talked about quite a bit. I think a lot of people were surprised that it was at 9-0, right? But I think a lot of those, I think that happens quite a bit. I think that's more common than people really.
Yeah, well, because there is both common sense / kind of the words are clear in some certain ways that
right.
You're trying to force an interpretation of those words that
don't
benefit anybody but somebody's pocketbook.
Exactly.
Yeah. And thank goodness there's some smart people that prevent that.
I mean, outrage manufactured or real is currency right now, and I think or has been for a long time, and people use that. But I think for the most part, most of the decisions are pretty spot on. I mean, based on the interpretation of the words. I mean, you can disagree or agree, but I mean, when it comes to the interpretation, I think a lot of times it's pretty spot on, and that's why we got to watch how we word our laws and how our lawmakers word the laws, because the interpretation is what gets you in the end, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
But speaking of great interpretation, my Bud Jon this week reviewed some Sin City gummies. And also Journeyman, which I think I don't remember who Journeyman is. Is it Journeyman, the company? Is it Journeyman? Yeah, Journeyman. They have some drinks.
A drink.
Yeah, watermelon and blueberry. I think one is CBC and THC, and the other is like CBN for like nighttime.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So speaking of great interpretations, let's go to that right now.
Have you ever wondered what to buy? Have you ever pondered if that will get you high? Well, don't just go in and guesstimate. Listen close, get you something great like a tender disco yell. My Bud Jon is here to help.
Welcome back to John's Reviews and Reports. Today, we're doing Sin City. We got their gummies. And we're going to do Journeyman, a couple of their drinks. Kind of a daytime, nighttime drink. First, we're going to start off with the Sin City. They were super nice. They asked me to do a review for them. They dropped me off a hat, a lanyard, a bag, a bunch of stickers. Kind of cool Chicago theme. But yeah, starting off, this is their Let's Roll watermelon. They are dice. They're honestly, I wish you guys could get a better look at this. They're some of the prettiest gummies I think I've ever seen. They got their logo. They got the dice look. They got a little THC warning. They're pretty neat. And they also hooked it up with a little sample of their poker chips too. Again, extremely detailed with their logo. Looks just like a poker chip. Detail's amazing. Getting into the gummy, you eat it, got a nice chew, not too much bounce, not overly gummy, got a nice flavor, watermelon for sure. You don't really get a distillate flavor at first. Gives you time to kind of wash it down. I did notice after like a few minutes, if you don't eat or drink anything, you might get a little distillate flavoring in the aftertaste. Only complaint on them, it feels like a lot of gummy for the 10 milligrams, but I think in order to get the detail that they got going on, you sort of have to have a nice, decent canvas to work with, if you will. So all around, they were decent. They got a lot of flavors. We got a casino opening up right down the street from my house. They got about a 45-minute, hour onset, so pop them, head on over to the casino. They'll be kicking in right as you're starting to gamble. I don't know if that's good or not, but, you know, could be fun too. Make the night a little bit more fun. All right, moving on to the Journeyman. We got their watermelon. It is the CBC lemonade. It is a 1-to-2, so it's 50 milligrams of CBC in the bottle and 100 milligrams of THC in the bottle. So a dose is technically 5 CBC, 10 THC. I took a little heavier than that, personally. Flavor on the watermelon, amazing. Tastes just like watermelon. It's not too sweet, not too sour. It's not really tart. Just good kind of watermelon flavor. Blueberry, again, CBN. It's their blueberry CBN lemonade. Again, same ratio, 50 milligrams of CBN, 100 milligrams of THC. Again, it's the 5-10 ratio if you take just one dose. I take a bit more. I tend to do like a half and half on them. So 25 and 50. They both work great. Use this as a Father's Day. Kind of had me feeling great all day. That's CBC is a great antidepressant. If nobody knows, have you feeling really good. It is definitely a productivity. It doesn't slow you down at all. I cleaned my entire house. It was raining, so I got a lot of stuff done that I don't usually get done because I had someone else kind of watching the kids for a little bit. CBN, blueberry, gave me great sleep. Got to admit, I'm gonna get some sleep after this too. Slightly more tart than the watermelon, but it's got that like tart blueberry flavor. I really like it. Lemonade. It's the one thing I wish these guys start doing. Add some minor cannabinoids like CBC, CBN, CBD to your gummies, because I like medicine as much as I like getting high too. And besides, you know, a little bit of CBC might get you feeling great at the casino. And after your night at the casino, you can go back to the hotel and end it with some CBN. Anyway, I'm going to end the night with a nice dab off the Dr. Dabber. I know he didn't do any dab per se, but, you know, never a bad time to do a dab off the Dr. Dabber. So
this is a true statement.
Here we go. Let's blaze, guys.
Let's blaze.
I will add a few of my perspectives from every time I listen to John do something. I'm like, man, this guy's so spot on. But I love, he said that he wishes there was a little less gummy, or that there's too much gummy there.
That's the same thing that you and I have both heard about. Lots of companies, not just Sin Cities, but a few different companies' gummies, is that it's a lot. It's what people used to say about the chocolates when it was med only back in the day. It's a lot. Fair. I don't need all that stuff on the top.
To consume what you're trying to consume, depending on who you are and what you're trying to take. But there's the opposite side of that, where for somebody who is looking for lower dosing, it's far easier to cut something that is that big into smaller doses. So if somebody only wanted to take, because there's a big population of people who are not into larger consumption, but getting that proper dose is nice. So cutting those things into 4 is probably pretty easy. I would imagine cutting the dice into like 8s would be pretty easy even, right? Probably. You just make that kind of across the middle 3 times and bingo bango. But I haven't had any of those products, but I have had some of the Journeyman.
Yeah.
And I've said it a million times, and I'll say it a million more. Drinks do hit a little bit different for a lot of people who are incapable of absorbing things. Drinks are awesome, but kudos to Journeyman. I just wanted to throw it out there for putting excess cannabinoids in, because they started off as a THC dominant company. I had talked with a couple of their reps through the times and said, yo, what the hell are you doing? Like, you have to add excess cannabinoids to this. It's the only way. Nobody wants 7 different drinks that are all THC dominant just because of a flavor profile. You know, it just doesn't do it for that many people. So putting excess cannabinoids in it helps kind of diversify through some of the flavorings, and then the flavors kind of carry a profile of their own. So kudos to them. And again, thanks, John. Awesome review.
Yeah.
And happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
I was going to say that as well. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Yeah. And thank you, John, again. And since we did just get done with John, let's do plugs right now. And also follow John. If on Instagram, you can follow him at Federation Farms on Instagram. And I didn't ask him if he wanted his normal one, but Federation Farms or was it Scooby 1776, and I think we did a collab on Instagram, so you can find him that way. Last week, because we also released the My Bud Jon and the Dave's Conditional Cannabis Corner, but My Bud Jon is Fridays, and then on the YouTube channel, and then Dave's Conditional Cannabis Corner on Mondays. On our YouTube. Those are from the latest episodes. So if you don't want to, if it's too much blah, blah, blah for you, and you just want to see a review or learn something about cannabis, you can do that. So basically, if you don't like me, you can go see all the stuff without me. No, that's hilarious. But yeah, you can go see that and check those out. And then you can find us, the Elevated News Podcast with Two Dope Dudes, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all your other favorite podcasts and streaming apps. Two Dope Dudes YouTube channel. Give us a like, leave a review. This helps us reach more people. Twitter.com at Two Dope Dudes. And you can support us by using code supportdopepeople at buildasoil.com to save money. And you can also use code 2dopedudes at the Green Grow Biologicals to help you grow organically. You can use that code there. And then Dr. Dabber, use code SDP for 10% off at drdabber.com. And that helps us with hosting and website fees and all that other stuff. And then supportdopepeople.com. If you want to buy a t-shirt, either one that says supportdopepeople.com or one that says peace, love, and cope, that also helps support the show. And we would love you if you do that, but not required. Just give us a like and leave a comment, or come check out my friend Dave Thursday nights.
Yeah, at 8 p.m. Central Time. I am hanging out, waiting for somebody to come in there and ask me how to take their health back into their own hands. There's many ways, but I promise you, this plant is a good bridge to it. So if y'all ever need any assistance with anything, please holler at me. I am live Thursday nights on YouTube. Peace, love, and cope. Thank you all.
YouTube comments.
Dude.
YouTube comments. Dave,
I got them pulled up over here.
Oh, bet. Cool.
Yeah. Let me start here. I've got at the top Cole Memo, Aaron, Dave, and I feel like I should also give a shout out to John and the community.
Absolutely.
Thank you for this show, for this community, and for what you do for this plant. I cannot imagine living in this cannabis world without y'all. Thank you. Typing this comment made me oddly emotional. I think I'm high. Sending love and good vibes. Can I tell you what? This is...
Yeah.
Cole, you're the fucking man.
Yeah.
This is what it's all about. I also, too, am the emotional type, and that shit hits in the feels sometimes, and I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you for not being scared to say what you need to say, and also being so damn kind all the time. I really appreciate you, man. And what we are doing, as we've said it a million times, and both of us will say it 1 million more, you're the man.
Yeah,
you are the guy doing some of the coolest investigative journalism and actual real... I like I said, kudos and hats off to you. You're you're way cooler than anybody. I don't know.
Yeah.
Everybody loves Cole.
Everybody loves Cole. That's right.
I read the emotional thing. I started to get in my feels too. I love you, Cole. Let's jump down to the next one. Mr. Rourke 420. Another great show in the books. One more episode closer to a milestone.
That's
Keep
right.
it going. Thank you, brother. Is next week it?
Yeah, it's next week. Next week is it's it was the end of June. So
wow.
Yeah, that'll be it.
Macho Grams, great episode, brothers. Thanks for bringing us the info we need. Love John's and Dave's segments. Keep rocking the rose-tinted glasses, Aaron. Perspective is key.
Thank you, Macho. Appreciate you.
Jesus, dude.
Macho just came back from the DGC Cup, getting all the shout-outs. Everybody loves Macho. I apparently Macho just sat and rolled weed for the whole community all weekend, which is, Macho is, as I've said before, if you ever get to hang out with Macho, one of the coolest dudes, one of the most down-to-earth dudes, one of the, rolls great joints, has great weed. Love that guy, Yeah. How cool is that? Just out there, him and Saul just repping,
Yes.
So.
Minnesota Organics. Sorry I missed the live today. Never be sorry. None of y'all. We love when you're there.
Yep.
We appreciate any of this interaction at all. Was having a safety meeting and not the fun kind. Yep. I know all about them.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. It's been 0 days since I've gotten that. Anyway, increasing purchasing limits sounds more like increasing tax collection. Has the state shared where all the extra taxes where all the extra money will go? Does the state share where all the current money goes? So there's that. But no, you're absolutely right. But I've said it, and I'm gonna. I'll get back to this point again. I do believe that the industry and the consumer has plateaued.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's like a massive wave of people that are like, whoa, I thank God I can possess 60 grams and not 30, because when I could possess 30, I wasn't going to do it.
Yep.
Now that I can get 60, I'm into it.
Yeah.
I think all it does is allow some of the people who are more weighted in the pocket and willing to blow that money to just kind of rip a few more dollars into a place, but then they're going to stock up and not show the hell back up for a while. So
Yeah.
I just think it's a consumption thing. We're
Yeah.
not teaching the things for people to consume more, or it's
Shout out to the live chat, Daily Homegrown, Xylence, John Voight, Sean Whitney. I said Daily Homegrown. Let me see here. Let me advance this. I know the Cole memo as well. Just Nick DJ. Yeah, always fun to see.
Yeah.
Gary Cornett.
Hey.
I know Peace, Love, and Cope was in here as well. Came in. Yeah, it's a fun episode. Shout out to everybody in the live chat. Always a good time.
Yeah, honestly, the live chat is
always
fun.
A good time. Love our community. Y'all are the best. Pretty sure Mr. Work was there as well.
Yep.
Hey, let's talk about this one real quick. Grown Rogue restarts cultivation facility at Dwight facility. On June 5th, Grown Rogue International and Grown Rogue's Illinois partner, SEA Craft, the license holder, received approval from the state of Illinois to restart cultivation operations at the Grow facility in Dwight, Illinois. First harvest and initial sales are expected in the second half of 2026. SEA Craft's initial plan, or is it Seacraft? Initial launch plan includes 4 flower rooms totaling up to the initial regulatory limit of 5,000 square feet of flowering canopy, which with the first harvest anticipated in September and initial sales expected to commence in quarter 4 2026. Seacraft also intends to pursue imminent activation of the facility's manufacturing and extraction space, subject to applicable regulatory approvals. Seacraft intends to submit a request to expand its flowering canopy from 5,000 to 10,000. I think they can actually do that now, right?
What if? Wait a minute.
I thought with the new omnibus, the 14,000 square foot was open to
not
everybody.
Buying the license.
Well, Seacraft is the license holder.
Right, but they bought this from PharmaCann, right?
Yeah, they where is that in the,
or this is not the PharmaCann?
I thought this was
because it says Dwight.
Is that not the PharmaCann one? Oh yeah, here we go.
Oh, yep, there it is.
As part of the restart here, that's where it is. As part of the restart, Seacraft has made several key local hires and expects to continue building its Dwight-based team as operations ramp over the coming months. Seacraft anticipates adding approximately 60 to 70 positions over the next 6 to 9 months, including roles across. All of that doesn't matter. To date, Seacraft has rehired 10 former team members from the previous operator of the facility, PharmaCann, with several more offers outstanding. So yes, this is the PharmaCann. That's why this is.
But so then they didn't buy the. Oh, well, I guess that's different, dude. Okay, so my brain's like just reeling right now. Okay, so.
But isn't
PharmaCann has the license?
For the facilities wasn't it owned by IIS Properties? Isn't that the?
Yeah, but so the way that this is framed to a certain degree to me is like this Seacraft is buying.
Seacraft is the license holder. It says,
Well, so if you're buying the cultivation facility, you would assume that you would, like, in my brain there was this connect that was like, they're just going to be able to do what PharmaCann was doing because they're buying that facility. That's what's going on in there. Right. But because PharmaCann has the license they can grow 220,000 square feet, whether it's in multiple facilities or not. is what's different. So they never really needed the Dwight facility.
Yeah, this was accelerated by pending legislation, which was the omnibus, which made it so everybody could have the 14,000. So this is previous to that. It looks like.
So it's because of your license status and not because of the facility.
Correct.
Because in the past, PharmaCann could have grown 220,000 square feet of canopy space of flower in the Dwight facility.
Right.
But they never really operated out of that space anyway. I think they did some extractions and shit. I don't really even know what they did, but they have another cultivation site, right?
Yeah.
And I would imagine that when everything started expanding, they just started expanding there instead of doing it in two different spots and trying to build up two different footprints, because that doesn't make sense. But now that these people took over the facility, their license governs it, and they're a craft grower.
And then they're partnered with Seacraft, Grown Rogue, who is out of Oregon. They do like rosin and stuff like that.
Yeah, but yeah, they're craft license holders, so they're not like the old school license holders, the 20 whatever there are, 22 of them or something. They all have that ability at 220,000 square feet, I think, is their max.
Well, just because we had been covering all the PharmaCann and the Dwight stuff, I saw that and I wanted to just talk about that real quick.
No, I appreciate it. It actually shines some light in my brain to some stuff, so I like it.
Supreme Court, I know, and now everybody talked about this last week. This happened last week, but lots of people have been talking about this. Supreme Court upholds marijuana users' gun rights, rejecting Trump Department of Justice arguments in major Second Amendment case. This is from Marijuana Moment. The U.S. Supreme Court has unanimously sided with a man who was prosecuted for possessing a gun while being a regular consumer of marijuana, ruling that the government actions violated the Second Amendment. The opinion, authored by Justice Neil Gorsuch, is narrow in scope and does not entirely strike down the federal law known as 922G3 that prohibits people who illegally consume controlled substances from possessing or purchasing firearms. But it does say that as applied to the man in the current case, Ali Daniel Hermani, it is unconstitutional to automatically bar people from lawful gun ownership just because they happen to use marijuana occasionally. It also says the broad ban and the government's effort to defend it are, quote, at odds with, quote, the Trump administration's move to federally reschedule cannabis. The government, quote, asks us to conclude that anyone who regularly uses marijuana is categorically violent and dangerous without any further showing, end quote, the opinion says. Also in quotes, all based on little more than its current say-so, one at odds with its own regulatory actions, and affording the government that kind of broad power to designate any group as dangerous and thereby disqualify its members from having a gun would risk allowing it to quickly swallow the Second Amendment, end quote. The court's opinion in the U.S. versus Hermani does not address efforts to ban addicts or those presently intoxicating from possessing a firearm, it says. We do not address other prophylactic laws Congress might adopt after determining that users of a particular drug pose a special risk of misusing firearms. We do not address 18 U.S.C. 922G1's provision of disarming individuals convicted of felonies, often including drug-related ones. So all of that before us is one, if surely ambitious theory. The government maintains that it may automatically strip Mr. Hermani of its Second Amendment right to possess a firearm because he uses marijuana a few times a week. Gorsuch wrote, more than that, because he possessed a gun despite his prohibition, the government insists that it may imprison him for up to 15 years and disarm him for life, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, good for this case, because this is what we talk about all the time, and
because
until it happens,
right,
there's no law on it. Correct. Right? Because the law kind of says what it says, but until the court rules in the favor of one party or the other,
right,
inside of a court system, you have no other cases to draw upon. So you're trying to interpret the law by verbiage. And, now that there's actually a case in the favor of, the people and not the government, it gives the people a little bit more breathing space, and it gets the government off your back a little bit more, which is fantastic, because you'll have somebody capable of drawing upon this and saying, look.
Yeah. And look, the ATF has come out and said it is going, here's the tweet here, that they're going to be here, let me just read this. On June 18th, the Supreme Court issued its decision in United States versus Hamani, addressing the federal prohibition on firearm possession by unlawful users of controlled substances. ATF is reviewing this decision and assessing its impact. Additional guidance will be provided soon. So that, yeah, they're going to be coming out and, yeah.
And there's verbiage in that still claims it so that all of those 11 states who don't have protection through whether it's a medical program or a adult use program, you aren't as protected. People who are in states where there's an adult use program, you're even more protected because you have the legal means of access to this thing according to where you live currently. So you're a slight bit more protected. And that doesn't mean that before this judgment comes out that people couldn't be prosecuted or in spaces where it's not legal to possess or consume cannabis, that you still don't have the possibility of being prosecuted. So just be aware of what's going on. This is a super big win, but it doesn't protect everybody.
No, and it doesn't protect currently any states from doing anything. We already know that most states don't. I'll just say it. Most blue states or most liberal states don't really care about Bruin versus Heller, and so they're still doing things to disarm people and create more gun laws and disarm people. So this is not going to help those kinds of states. It will help with the federal stuff, but like states that have a FOID card. So that's just an extra, what is the 4473 check, or form 4473, which is that background check, right? So like when you get a FOID card, you just have to do 2 of those. You have the state do it, and then you have the federal government do it. Correct? That's right. So like,
yep.
In a blue state, they're just gonna not, get you to the federal part.
Yeah,
I mean, so like this is great for the federal government, but it's not going to do anything for the states that want to disarm you or limit your gun rights to do that. Looking at you, Illinois, California, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, that is why there is some weirdness when it comes to the difference between a state and a federal law. And when federal law trumps the land, but you live inside the borders, it gets really weird. But that's also why we have the ability to move over those invisible lines.
That's correct. And ATF in May posted a proposed revised version of Form 4473, which is what we were talking about.
Yeah.
And that was because basically it was saying it talked about the medical cannabis that was already immediately rescheduled to Schedule III, which here coming up this week or next Monday is when the rescheduling starts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's coming.
And
still not to November yet, right? That's when hemp is.
No, that's something completely different. That's the hemp ban. Yes.
Yeah,
that's in November.
I'm waiting for big dates. I'm just thinking of all the big dates coming through here.
So the DEA judge issues order laying out process for marijuana rescheduling hearings starting this month. So this is for those of you who have not been through any hearings through the DEA or anything yet, this is how this works. And I thought it was interesting for people who don't know to hear about it. So the government, the Chief Administrative Judge Law, Derek Julius, signed the 12-page order on Thursday, setting initial timelines for designated parties that will be participating, which under a separate announcement from the DEA this week, only includes opponents of cannabis reform. Only opponents. Julius noted that the government, as the proponent of the proposed rule, has the burden of proof in defending moving marijuana to Schedule III. Officials will need to file notices of appearance for government representatives by no later than Monday, he said. Todd Blanche issued an order that immediately reclassified the state-licensed medical cannabis as well as marijuana products approved by FDA from Schedule I to Schedule III. The upcoming hearing will consider more comprehensively moving marijuana to Schedule III. So this is for rec. The hearing will be held at a DEA facility in Arlington, Virginia, and will begin on June 29th, so next Monday, and it will last through July 15th. Representatives of designated parties must appear in person, while called witnesses can either appear in person or by video. The proceedings will not be televised, live streamed, or broadcasted in any way, the judge said, although members of the public can attend in person due to, quote, national public interest of the issue. And with the exception of the function of the court reporter, permission is explicitly withheld from any attendee to use audio or video recording device at any time inside the courtroom or the adjoining lobby area. So here's the process for how each participant will present its case and how the government and interested parties can cross-examine one another. Dave, do you want to go there and cross-examine some people?
So it's really, this is a wild one, because this means that the government will have to have doctors and lawyers and judges and everything on their behalf in the favor of cannabis being used medicinally, which is wild. But also, if you look at the list of people who are opposing it, like I said, this is going to be kind of fun to see what shakes out from it and to see how people are taking stances on things, right? I mean, more so the government, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to start reading some of these. Each designated party will have an assigned day which they can present their case. They'll be allotted 15 minutes for an opening statement. You can present up to 2 witnesses. Each witness may testify or on direct examination for no more than 2 hours. Should a designated party only present 1 witness, that witness may testify on direct examination for up to 4 hours. You can cross-examine each of the government's witnesses for no more than an hour, and the government can cross-examine each of the interested parties' witnesses for no more than an hour. Let me see here. Something about being expert witnesses. And they can't be in the courtroom before or after their testimony for witnesses. Objections to evidence or testimony will be heard during the hearing and should be made orally. So there's a bunch of kind of organizational rule here. But this is all going to start. And here are the invited participants in the hearing. The National Drug and Alcohol Screening Association, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation.
So that's more of like the legal side. That's what I'm saying. They're trying to prove that there is still something to be illegal there. It's also Sam.
Yep. Smart Approaches to Marijuana. States Nebraska, Idaho, Indiana, Louisiana. DUID, Victim Voices. Kenneth Finn, MD. Philip A. Drum, PharmD. All of the organizations, individuals, and officials have expressed opposition to marijuana reform. Some have filed litigation in an attempt to block cannabis rescheduling specifically. That would be smart approaches to marijuana.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, they're going to talk about every aspect of this. Like I mean, and then to have the four of the states who still don't have cannabis programs in place coming out as the opponents for why invisible lines should still exist. Like there's a lot of cross argument that will go on here, and it will be cool to see the interpretation of what.
Well, unfortunately, we won't see or hear any of it. We can read about it if anybody reports on it and it's there, but
yeah,
that's why Dave and I always talk about how it's so important to A, normalize talking about cannabis, and B, it's so important to have more and more studies that actually prove the scientific help of cannabinoids, terpenes, conditions, things like that, because when these proponents, they're not going to be using the latest and greatest. They're going to be discussing old reports and how cannabis, is reefer madness and creates psychosis in all people who use it. And, this is why it's important to talk about it. It's important to, even to have our show and do stuff like this so that we can normalize this and have better outcomes for all people.
Sam's stance on the gun possession thing was that all cannabis consumers are still like crazies. We're less than humans because we consume the plant. That is literally what Sam's stance was through this. That you're very criminalistic, and like these are the people that are going out there to oppose, and we're talking about opposing rescheduling to 3, right? Which is like, this is to prove it at least has some medical benefit. This is why the whole reclassification goes on to begin with.
Right.
And then you have doctors, it's weird that the group is what it is, but that's what I'm saying is they're looking at all different aspects of this, and it will be neat to see what comes of it. I mean, again, I would love to be a fly on the wall for this. I would love to listen to every second of back and forth. But didn't it say that you said that we won't be able to watch this at all, or we will?
No, nothing will be televised. No audio, no video. You can only go there in person and sit there and listen.
Then you can't record any. Okay.
Can't record. You can't video. Nothing, because it's federal. It's federal government hearings. They don't ever allow that.
Yeah. Wow.
Or generally don't allow that.
Okay.
So and then there's been different interested parties that have tried to attend and applied to attend, and they were all denied. I know there was a story that National Normal came out today and asked the DEA to rethink about not allowing them as an interested party, as a proponent. And we'll see what happens. But I mean, National Normal also said that Illinois, took steps in the right direction for its cannabis market just the other day by signing the omnibus. And we all know that, not a lot of us think it was a step in the right direction.
Well, they stated what it's for. They said it's for the cannabis market. It's not for the cannabis consumer.
Correct.
So they're not wrong in their statements, but we understand the stance that somebody's got now by,
I look forward to Cole's report on the Parabola report that came out last week about Illinois. And I know I said we were going to talk about that, but we started running a little bit low on time, and there's other stuff that's more important. I feel like, how equitable Illinois really is, and how it's actually just controlled by a few corporations and the government on purpose. And I look forward to Cole talking about that this week. you know, because I think it really calls out what it is in a lot of ways. So
yeah.
But hey,
I look forward to it a ton, actually.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But actually, I'm looking forward to our next segment, which is Dave's Conditional Cannabis Corner.
Heyo.
Heyo.
You got some symptoms from your condition to help you feel better. That is my mission. At the Conditional Cannabis Corner, you can get that information, and it won't even cost you a quarter.
Welcome, my friends. Thank you again for hanging out. I'm pretty pumped. Something cool really just happened. This is as of June 20th, 2026. Scientists found a cannabis compound that relieves pain without the high. And I just want to do this during the wrong one. There we are. Now you can see it. Scientists found a cannabis compound that relieves pain without the high. The University of Arizona is the source of this, the Office of Research and Partnerships. The summary is that compounds responsible for the aroma of cannabis and many other plants may offer a surprising new way to relieve chronic pain. Researchers found that several cannabis-derived terpenes significantly reduce pain in mouse models of fibromyalgia and post-surgical pain, with one terpene, geraniol, showing especially strong effects. Unlike THC, these compounds are not as associated with psychoactive effects, making them a potentially attractive after alternative. Oh, fuck me upside and down. What's up with these split words? Anyway, making them a potentially attractive alternative for pain treatment. Golly! Science talk is too much. If you have been listening here for a while, you would have heard me say, and I think this is what happened, is that the University of Arizona has been chiming in to the two dope dudes here, a little peace, love, and cope every once in a while. And they found out that the stuff that we've been talking about for a long time is right. There's more parts to this plant than just THC. And for all of those out there who are using it for more than their effects of just THC, which I would say blandly, there's plenty of actual things that THC does very well, including inflammation reduction. But THC is just one part of the plant that is kind of boring and bland, and everybody just associates it with the intoxication part of it, the psychoactivity. Now, there's other parts of this plant that cause the alteration of that psychoactivity to feel certain ways. And those things are terpenes. Like we've said forever, it's methods of ingestions, it's cannabinoids, and then it's terpenes. Terpenes are the expert level of cannabis knowledge. And here, look at this. The University of Arizona is trying to become experts. But the terpenes are mildly psychoactive because there are some of them that do cause some level of activity, of brain stimulation. And for that, I love this report and I think it's great, but I think also too, just having a basic general understanding of what some of the capabilities of these things are can make your experience with cannabis exponentially better. It's not a breakthrough that these things are pain relieving. We knew it. Terpenes, I've talked about it forever. It's beta caryophyllene actually binds to your CB2 receptors and is unbelievably anti-inflammatory. It may even be more anti-inflammatory than THC, and THCA may be even more anti-inflammatory than. So it's like, what part of the plant are we consuming and why? And knowing that there's other parts of this that add to the benefit is just it's interpreted by a lot of people by saying, well, the entourage effect. Well, the entourage effect is the effects of THC, CBD, CBG, CBN, THCV, any of the cannabinoids, right? But in conjunction with myrcene, limonene, geraniol, beta-caryophyllene, alpha-pinene, alpha-humulene. The list just is expansive. It's myrcene, and there's so many parts of this plant that to pick each individual one out and go, well, it's really good at this thing, and we got to only use that for pain and only use this for anti-anxiety and only, well, it's the blend of all of it and it being relatively mild, right? Like even THC, as far as psychoactivity goes, is pretty mild. There are plenty of things that cause you far greater levels of intoxication or psychoactivity that are very regularly accepted out in the world, including a lot of prescribed medications, right? So it's all the perspective you're willing to take on the thing at some point. That's why I think this debate that's going to go on with the rescheduling is going to be neat. Let people kind of air out some of the different opinions of, but the only opinion you should have or the only stance you should take are the ones that you can prove, right? Or the ones that are already out there and existent. And scientifically, we already know geraniol, anti-inflammatory, pain for the most levels of pain, especially when we're talking about fibromyalgia, like this report is, it's inflammation. And for all of us, we're probably experiencing some level of inflammation. It's caused by the condensing of us, the pressing of us, gravity holding us on the earth, right? Which, hey, listen, I like that law. I'm perfectly fine with staying planted on the ground. If we just randomly floated away every once in a while, that would be terrifying. But especially with the potential of never landing again, right? That's wild. But cannabis isn't that. Cannabis isn't some, otherworldly, it's not this intoxication so much that you're out of control of yourself. It's very in control. And if you know what you're doing with it, you can find some unbelievable results. And in this report, it does mention the other terpenoids that it likes to or it wants to recognize, and it's geraniol, it's humulene, alpha humulene, I'm trying to find it, beta caryophyllene, and linalool, right? Well, we understand linalool is very kind of mellow, chill, relaxed, sedative, and as far as pain goes, that like to be able to just let the weight of the world off your shoulders, why wouldn't it be beneficial? Beta caryophyllene. Linalool also has anti-inflammatory properties. Beta caryophyllene, very anti-inflammatory. Alpha humulene, very anti-inflammatory. Geraniol, very anti-inflammatory. But then we also talk about the excess things that they do: antioxidative, appetite suppressant on the humulene side of things. There's so many different properties that each of these little things have, but it's awesome that finally some science is starting to back it, and now we're going, oh well, those are beneficial things. I've been saying it's been beneficial since the second I've come out in the world and started talking about it. I'm not a medical professional. Don't take my medical advice, but I am a cannabis professional. I got to sit in front of a lot of people who use different parts of this plant at different times, and I got to see results based on it. And the general thing is, if you know what cannabinoids you're taking, if you know the method of ingestion you're consuming it, but you know the cannabinoids that you're taking and why you're taking them, and you know what some terpenes are capable of, so you kind of look for them when you can find them, you have a way better chance of taking your health back into your own hands. And health is all of the feelings and all of the symptoms. It's, pain and anxiety and depression and inflammation and spasticity and headaches and nausea, neuropathy, even to the point where in things like Parkinson's, it stops tremors, right? There's so many different beautiful aspects of what this plant is capable of. And kudos to you, State of Arizona University or University of Arizona, for finally scientifically putting your neck on the line to say these things actually are working, and it can be not scary, right? It doesn't have to be the intoxication or high thing. It can be a very soothing, comforting, non-psychoactive experience. And but also this can be misleading in the way that, like, well, where can you go find an abundance of geraniol or limonene or linalool or any terpene, and then how would you ingest it from there, right? So there's a lot to be understood there, but as far as what we know, kudos, University of Arizona, way to catch up to what a lot of us talk about every Wednesday afternoon on the live premiere, or every Thursday night on Peace, Love, and Cope, or every Monday in the Conditional Cannabis Corner, or, find us anytime, University of Arizona. Appreciate you. And thank you all. That's it.
One of the things that I also really liked on this, and it was almost at the end, under the how terpenes may work, specifically the pain relieving effects were linked to the
A2A.
Adenosine A2A receptor, a receptor that caffeine targets and blocks, suggesting that terpenes may have sedative properties. Researchers say this possibly warrants further investigation. I agree.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. I did actually want to, but then I started ranting, and
I saw that. Yeah.
In reading this, Aaron sent it to me last night, and when I read it, I was like, wow, kudos, science community, for picking these things up quicker and trying to bring some of it to light. And then also, like you said, at the end, it's like, let's further investigate this stuff, because that's
why it's important to continue to talk about cannabis and normalize it and get better studies like this, so that we can, use it to help everybody.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. That's the mission, baby.
Yeah. That's it.
Other than that, we love you all. Smoke weed every day. Peace.
Yo, ding dong, we're done here. Time to go.
Donuts!